Hello, everybody. It is me, Darcy. It is him, Kris.
Yes.
Kris. And welcome to the Unnamed Podcast where we sit here for a time and generally talk rubbish. Welcome to a very special one. It's
our year.
Roughly speaking, it has been a year since we started this. Which is kind of cool. For another reason, though, it's also special. This is our first one back here in my house since our snow trip. We literally got back from that yesterday. And if you watch that podcast, you'll remember our good friend Jordan, who is, much like he promised, at a pub.
Yes, indeed, at a pub.
So it's just the two of us again because he has a problem.
He does. He really does.
And yeah, so this is, as I said, it's kind of a special one. So we've got a little bit of reminiscing about our snow trip, a little bit of celebrating a year of doing the channel, and we're going to kind of ram that together into a squishy, round about an hour, hopefully.
Yeah. We'll see.
Generally until I about finish this drink, which has made a return from last week.
Oh, it has, yes.
Yeah, I decided that while I do enjoy drinking iced tea,
yes,
I like alcohol more.
Fair point.
So, as always, we'll begin off with some channel news. Channel news is, so this week, 2 videos came out, as standard. What the fuck happened to your eye?
What do you mean?
Well, this one's all fucking gross.
Is it?
It's got gross eyes. Kris has gross
I
eyes.
have no idea.
It's just red and bloodshot and gross. I don't like it.
I've got no idea.
Yeah, so channel news. So Pokemon Stadium 2 came out this week.
Sweet.
On Monday.
Yes.
And another Mario Kart came out today, or Wednesday, for us. I don't really think there's been a great deal happening channel-wise, obviously, because we've been on holiday.
Comments on the last podcast.
That's all from Jaden.
It was from Jaden.
He wasn't wrong. Jordan did bring a dynamic, and he did outshine you 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Like, one podcast with him made every podcast with Kris look amateurish.
Yep.
He also said way more, too.
Oh, yeah, I'm not surprised, to be honest.
But we were also quite intoxicated at that point.
Oh, yes. Yes, we were.
Yeah, because
we'd
been drinking that morning, afternoon, and at the bar while we waited for pizza.
Yep.
So yeah, and then we'd come back and drunk more.
Yeah.
So
it was kind of a habit we had while we were there.
It was worth it.
Oh yeah.
And as promised, I have shaved down to a mustache, much like I did with our very first podcasts.
Yes. Yes, you did.
Although that was for a totally different reason. Up the tars. But yeah, so I have a mustache. I have incredibly smooth cheeks right now. I only cut myself like 4 times doing it because okay, so
well, I suppose it's because there's probably a long time between it.
Yeah, I was like fucking using my beard trimmer to like get all the really long stuff off,
which makes sense. Yes.
And at one point I had mutton chops, and I was just like, oh, but I'm like, whoop, I'd do like one pass, and it would just be like. Just like a fucking chunk of hair. I'm like, this is gonna take a long time.
And it does.
But then I got it all down to like just the stubble. I'm like, okay, time to break out the thing I only break out when I'm actually properly shaving down my face, which is my safety razor.
Oof. Which,
if you don't know, the safety razor is the razor that uses what people like consider razor blades.
Yes.
Like no other razor, well, unless you've got a modified straight razor, uses those. They were designed for this. And the name safety razor is a bit of a misnomer.
It always has been. I don't...
Well, no. It is, if you actually think about it, it is what it says in the tin. Because the only other razor that existed when it was made was the straight razor, which is practically just an incredibly sharp knife.
Well, yes. Yeah, okay,
so
fair point.
So it was a razor that you could safely use at home, and like... the chances of slicing your own throat were slim to none.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, there's wicked new sharp blade in there, and I was just like, and I'm like shaving, I'm just like, Oh, nice. Only 4 little nicks today. Because it can be pretty bad. Like, yeah, the safety razor is good if you're using it right, but one, like when you get your wet hands and your thing, one sideways movement and you've just put a long, deep gash in yourself.
Yeah, no,
And
that'll
it's
do.
like, oh god. But yeah, so nice and smooth. Because when I pull it out, fuck does it make it smooth. But it's also a very long process. Because you kind of have to, like...
I'm well aware. It's always a long process.
3 to 4 applications of shaving cream. Because, like, you do one in one direction. And then you got to put it back on so you can go the other direction. And you don't want to be caught without shaving cream. Because then it's just like fucking sandpaper. And you're going, how do I have so much hair still on my face as you're trying to shave?
Oh, yeah. It's one of those things that anything to do with a beard and just shaving your beard,
Oh yeah.
whether it be trimming, tidying up, it takes forever.
Trimming doesn't take me too long. I just set my beard shaver to this setting on one and then just...
Still takes me a while.
So incompetent.
Well, it's because I generally have to like get like a neat line on the ear, then shave it
I
down,
do my neat line.
then neat lines up here as well.
Yeah, but that's like not even a thing.
Still takes me a while.
I just go like, I hit the whole face with the length I want the beard. Then I pop off the length part, so I've got down to the lowest it can do.
Yeah.
Do my lines.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
And then it's just like, and because if I'm not shaving it down to nothing, or not,
Yeah.
if I'm just doing a trim up, I just then go over it with the lowest and just, that removes all the rough.
It's true, yes. I think it's more so because I tend to leave it a while, and then I do a couple of runs and empty it.
Okay, well, yeah, there's that part, but again,
And that just draws so much time to it.
I just, but like last night, at one point I blocked up the sink in my bathroom because of just all of the fluffy hair. Yeah, I was in like full mountain man mode.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But yeah, so anyway, still on channel news.
Yes.
As promised, I have a lot of footage to look over from like GoPro and cameras on phones and stuff, and I'll try to put together, a bit of a kind of holiday reel from our trip. Probably won't be on YouTube though. That'll probably be one of the first things ever to go up on Patreon, just because of all the copyright material that's in it, because a lot of it's taking place in the car and shit, and we're just jamming out to music.
100%.
But depending on what I do with that, maybe I'll just, edit down a quick, like few little snippets from the actual mountaintops and stuff where there's no copyright material, and maybe chuck them on YouTube. But that's a future thing. That's still got stuff to go. So, but we are looking into that, much like we promised, and so stay tuned for more info on that.
Yes.
So before we might as well roll straight into summing up the holiday, because that's going to be the short, quick part.
Yes.
So overall, I think we all really had a great time.
Yeah, I think we
Definitely would do again.
100%.
Yeah.
But next time,
Not
during
breaking
the
your thumb.
season. Oh, well, we don't know if it's broken yet.
It's broken.
It's probably broken.
It's broken. You know why it's broken? Because it's the best in class. Going the season. Yeah, I see. I don't know. It's one of those things for me where it's like, as I said to you, we lost the last 2 days of skiing because of wild weather.
Yes.
Which sucks, but it's what happens in nature. However, like in the season, they lost days as well due to wild weather. So it's kind of 6 in one, half a dozen in the other.
Oh, true. Yeah.
No matter when you go, you are beholden to the weather and what it wants to do. But I would.
We could even possibly look at going somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'd go. Yeah, we do want to go down again. Go in actual peak season. Get the full snow experience, because we didn't really talk about this when we were there, but these motherfuckers were Queensland through and through. Like, we walk into the place and it's nice and warm. Like, when we arrived there the first day. Place is warm, snow outside, what we want. We'd probably been there for about 2 minutes before Jordan gets on and starts, like, cranking the fucking heat up.
I had to keep dropping it because he kept dropping it
up.
God
So...
damn.
I'm not someone who's like, no, we're in the fucking cold. We gotta be rugged up to be warm. No, if you can make yourself comfortable. But these motherfuckers are walking around in shorts without t-shirts and shit because like, oh yeah, it's so comfortable in here. It's like, you've got it too fucking hot.
The only time I wasn't wearing a t-shirt was when no one was, and that's because we just got out of the fucking hot tub.
I'm like, but I was like, you got it too fucking hot. It's too hot in here.
That's what I kept saying.
And then we'd walk outside and it would be like, whoa. And so I spent like the last 2 days with just like my entire head blocked up because I had like the world's worst head cold because the motherfuckers just kept...
Nope, that was all Jordan. I kept dropping.
Gotta have it at 22 degrees inside. And it's like, no, we have a wood fire. It's not that cold at the moment. It's like 20 degrees outside. We don't need it 22 inside.
That's why I was like...
It's just constantly heating up. So
that's why I was giving it to a point of like... To allow Jordan to be like, okay, it's a little bit warmer. I was setting it for 18 every time. So I kept dropping it back down.
It's just like, I was just sitting there, I'm just like, oh my god. And like, when he walked in, he's like shorts and no shirt. I'm just like, Jordan, you've got the thermostat set too high. That's an indication that you have it set too high. It's literally 4 degrees outside and you're walking around in just shorts. You've got the thermostat set too high.
Yeah.
Especially considering that we were going in and out. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I had the worst blood noses that week.
Oh, so did I.
Like, I remember I told Jordan on fucking Monday night when we were at the hotel.
Yeah.
And I was like I was in the shower trying to unblock my fucking nose.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, at one point I unblocked one of my nostrils. I went, and it just went, and it was just a geyser of blood. And I was just like, thanks guys.
Oh no, mine was bad with it as well the entire week. It's like every time I blew my nose, I'm like, and blood again.
Yep.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, like, we'd definitely go down. We'd even stay in the same place again because that was a fucking pretty sweet place.
Oh, it was nice.
And, you know, having a hot tub was fucking awesome.
Yes. It was amazing. Except that last night it wasn't as good, but...
It was a bit cool. It was a bit warm outside and a bit cool in the hot tub.
Yes.
But, you know, it did eventually start warming up. It just kind of needs the cover on.
We had the cover on the entire time until...
No, because we'd added cold water to it.
I suppose, yeah.
We'd added like fucking freezing cold water to it.
It's true. That was being done when I walked out there. Fair point.
So we'd added freezing cold water, and then because we hadn't put the cover on, even though it was like 12 degrees, 11 degrees outside.
Something like that, yeah.
And it was still a lot cooler and it was like completely exposed. Like the thing with those, you got to actually cover them back up to let them get back up to heat so that they don't have the cold sapping.
Temperature. No, it makes sense.
But yeah, no, yeah, it was good. It was a good time. As we said, we lost 2 days of skiing, which was a little bit upsetting, but it happens.
Yeah.
You know.
It was still good. Through and through.
Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely loved it. I didn't break any bones. Jordan didn't break any bones. Kris only broke one bone, which is...
Well, possibly. We're still yet to find it.
Well, you know, anything under 4, we're happy. Because we were sure it was going to be 4. Both legs.
Oh, God. Why were you aiming for both legs?
Oh, we just assumed. We saw how unbalanced you were on a snowboard.
Yeah, it wasn't good. Let's just
say on the first day we saw you on the slope and Jordan went, "Is that him?" And I went, "Looks like him." And you were sitting down and then you stood up and then we went, "Yeah, that's him," because it was like and then you went like 2.5 meters and fell back down. Like, yeah, that's him.
Sounds right. Well, again, first time on the board, so it's to be expected.
Yeah, no, so pretty much spent yesterday regaling people with what we were doing and like showing them videos taken. Personal favourite video of mine is one Jordan took of me. So pretty much what happened is that where we were skiing, there was like 3 different slopes that made one big slope, but there was like little flat patches in between them, so you could slow down a little bit more. So I'm at the top of the the final slope, the third one. It's probably the longest. It's not the steepest, but it's definitely the longest. My feet are cramping terribly because I was like, I have incredibly flat feet, and I need orthotics, and I did not have any of my snowshoes. So you doing something which is all heel and toe, absolutely cane, especially when it was like 300 meters down a hill, heel and toe. Definitely painful. Anyway, so I'm at the top there. I'm like, I don't know where these 2 motherfuckers are. I've lost sight of them. I can't remember how you both got in front of me. Because I was definitely... Oh, I remember. I had taken my board off when at the stop point after the first slope.
Wait, I got in front of you?
Yeah, because me and Jordan were waiting for you. I'd taken my board off and was walking around.
Yeah.
And then you came down. Jordan was still on his ski, so you two took off. I had to re-strap everything up.
Oh.
I had to re-get going and then wait for the school kids to go past and then go myself.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm at the top. I'm looking down and I see these 2 little cunts sitting there waiting. And I'm just like, oh god. I'm coming down. As we're getting closer, I can see Jordan's holding something.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he's fucking filming me. I'm like, okay, Darcy, whatever you do, just don't fuck this up. Just nice and smooth, use your speed. It was probably one of the best runs I had down there. Like, I would average go down once a run there. Sometimes accident, like I just hit an icy patch and lose all control and go tumbling. Sometimes purpose, I would be coming down and then realize there was like 50 kids in front of me and just be like, this is for the best, and go down.
Yeah.
But anyway, the few times I did get down there without falling, a lot of leafing was happening. I was going, doing a lot of leafing, but this run I didn't leaf much. I was just using speed. I was like just swerving, using my toes to cut back across, feeling really good about it. Get down, come into a little flat patch, and I'm like, oh, I'll jump back into this little sloped area and head over to where the boys are. So I do a little jump to get back into the flat area, come down. So Jordan, who had his phone out filming the entire time, only managed to film the tiny little jump that I did. The tiny little jump of me off the flat back onto a slope so I could come around and fucking... So the best run I had, the one that I was like, do not fuck this up, and he caught 2 seconds of me being like, okay, get back onto the slope, pop. That was it.
I think it's because he may have had it set for photo and he like held his finger there.
I don't know what he did.
And then because if it's set for photo, as soon as you let go, it stops the recording.
Yep.
So he was like, yep, and I've started it.
Oh no, in the actual video that he sent me, you can hear him go, I wasn't recording.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, that was probably the funniest one. The video that I sent him was probably the best one of him, where it was the only time I think he ever actually went around someone and didn't just crash behind them when someone fell over in front of him. But he's coming down the mountain and he stops probably 2 to 3 centimeters away from me, and I'm going, Jordan, stop.
Okay, yeah, I did see that one.
But yeah, that was also good fun.
I didn't realise what you were talking about with the people that were just like using the entire run but super slow.
Yep, I
had no idea what he was talking about initially, and then the day that I was up there and actually did what I considered a decent run for me anyway. I started going. I started getting.
Didn't have to walk down the slope.
True. I started getting a good run going, as then I just see these 2 people just going super slow across, and it's like, oh, I need to stop. And in a hurry, so the only way to do it is just, as Darcy said earlier, take the L and fall, because it was just, they were just in the way constantly, and it's because they came out just past me at a bit of speed and then slowed right down in front of me, and it's like, what are you doing? Why?
Yeah, no, that happened to me. Like, so we spent our first day on the flats, like in the low area. And that was probably a mistake. I probably would have been better off going straight up the mountain.
More than likely, yeah.
Kris needed his lesson to really get any benefit from any snowboarding.
Yes.
Jordan was probably the only one that benefited from that because it gave him time to get used to it and gave me time to kind of help with what he had to do in certain places.
Yeah.
But our first day up on top of the mountain, there was this one lady, and she probably caused me to crash about 7 times because she would cut across in front of me, going super slow, using the whole mountain, and I'd just go down. I'd be like, no, I'm not even going to try. Like, I've swooped this way, and now she's come here, and I can't cut back because she's directly where I need to cut back.
Yeah.
And I'm moving too fast, so I'd crash. I'd sit there, and I'd let her get down, and I'm like, okay. Up I come, turn, go, and then she's back in front of me, and I'm just like, fuck. So literally I would get about 10 meters downhill, and she would be back in my way. I would crash, sit, wait, get up, go, and like that's not a short process. That's a really long, energy-consuming process.
Oh yes.
And every 10 meters, she was back in my way, and I'm just like, lady, what the? If this is the best you can do, head back to the flats.
Yeah.
You need to be, if you're not even going to on some of these like flatter areas, because like there was one slope where I was like, no. Actually, in the end, I was like, yes, I was pointing downhill there. But I'm like, if you are so uncomfortable pointing downhill at any point, you should not be on the mountain slopes. Go back to the flats where you can practice going downhill and then come back up here, because some of these areas need speed. Especially, I don't like, well, you wouldn't have been there, but I saw a fucking snowboard crash that was goddamn atrocious.
Okay. I definitely didn't see it.
It just, so you obviously knew, because you would have heard them and you would have seen them, but there were the more advanced snowboarders and stuff. Yeah. And they would literally just come flying around you if you were slowing down or something, and they'd just keep going.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of them was doing that kind of stuff and he was filming with his GoPro, but then one of the less good snowboarders did something unpredictable. I don't know what happened, because I just saw the aftermath of the two bodies just collide and tumble. Oof. But like, yeah, it was pretty rough, and I just went, yep, that's what happens if you, and like the guy who, like the more experienced guy was just like fucking, I'm like, oh yeah, that hurts.
The decent run that I did, I was starting to get more speed into it, or trying to get more speed into it, which was getting a bit better with. I'm still not good in any way, shape, or form.
As well, for me, I kind of came to the realization, and like, because they were taking a lot of not beginner classes, but classes up there with little kids in them, they had a lot of slow zones. And the problem with me was, if I was getting too much speed and coming into a slow zone, you've got to like really... And then that I was likely to tumble because of just all the amount of snow that I'd build up on my stop. Also didn't help that like the slow signs were put like right in the middle of runs. And I understand why they were put there, but sometimes it was like, on this side of the slow sign, there's like 2 meters and then a drop off into trees.
Yep.
Cool.
A few of those.
Don't want to go that way. On this side, there's 3 or 4 meters and then a really steep part of the run. Yep. I'm okay with that, except that would be where the people would stop.
Yes. The
people that weren't as comfortable would stop there, so that they weren't going into a steep part of a run with any real speed. Which is fine, except when you've got 3 or 4 people there and it's like no room. Oh, and there's a person stopped there, so I have a meter to kind of weave between trees and a crash.
When I was coming down, so came down that first hill, and you know how there was that bit of a drop just at the bottom of it, and that's where the flat area was just after that? Yeah, so I've come down just after that, and I'm like, okay, cool. Start to get back up, and then I look in front of me like, hang on, there's a class of like 7 kids. but the instructor has the 7 kids across the entire way, and it's like, that's the
worst thing you could do.
That's where we need to go.
Yeah.
Unless we want to go to a more advanced run over that side. But
yeah.
just to stay in the area that's like, no, this is where I need to go. It was just kids blocking the entire way.
And that's kind of the one thing that I was really quite unhappy with. I was like, I understand why, because it always happens.
Yeah.
They start bringing, if the flats become bad, untenable, they start bringing the kids higher up the mountain.
Yeah.
Because technically, if they believe the kids can handle it, they'll bring them up. Yeah. But because they're still kids, they still need to follow all of the rules and stuff.
Yes.
And when you're not on a fucking couple 100-meter stretch where you can see from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
You need to have really good kid wrangling skills to make sure, one of them doesn't get lost up a giant snowy mountain.
Well, yes, that's true.
But yeah, sometimes I felt that they were doing, like, either there were too many kids in the classes they were running.
Yep.
Or they themselves were doing a really bad job of making sure that when they were stopping to instruct the kids, that they were clustering them enough for other people to come through.
Yeah.
There were a few times where...
both. I think this one was just both of them, because they didn't cluster them at all. Mm. And there was, actually, there was like 7 or 8 of them. So there was just too many of them.
And like, as I said, there was a few times, because there was also a school group there, like, doing school stuff. And a few times they would get in the way, and they were given a lot more freedom. Like, they'd either be with an instructor, or they were just kind of told, yeah, you've got free time, go do runs.
Yeah.
But they could get in the way because they were being shown stuff by the instructors, and when the instructor is showing them, he's like, stop here, right? And he'd gather them in an area. But then when they were doing it without the instructor, they'd all just kind of stop anywhere where they could get access to it, and so all of a sudden you've got a bunch of them sitting in a spot where, well, generally there was a jump lower down on the third slope, right?
Yeah.
But that was where I like to come through from the higher slope, where it was steep, because it was steep, sort of flat, back in.
Yeah.
And they would all just stop on the back in part. And I'm just, so you're coming down, you've got a lot of speed, and you're scrubbing some of it off on the flat, but then you've just got about 6 or 7 kids just sitting there.
Yep.
And that was the thing that really annoyed me about the school kids. When they were with the instructor kept them standing.
Yeah.
Which is tiring. It's a very tiring thing to not be moving, because you've got to dig in hard and you've got to fucking pretty much squat there.
We don't even have to squat, but you've got to... If you're not squatting, you're balancing.
On this steep part, you were squatting, because you were kind of dug in and then leaning back as far as you could come. Because that's kind of where it was. And that's what he had them doing. But when he wasn't there, they were just like, oh, fuck that, and just sitting.
Ugh.
Which meant that instead of standing and being somewhat maneuverable, they were sitting there and kind of spread out. And at one point I looked and it was like there was probably about a meter gap between all of them. Like, if you took all of the gaps between them, you had about a meter, and they were taking up a good half of the slope.
Jeez.
And I was just like, you are absolutely kidding. Like, come on, guys, have a little bit of courtesy.
Yeah, no, that's...
It was like, even when I was crashing out, I was smashed, like, you'd smash into the ground, you'd be like, oh, fuck. And then you would look behind you, make sure no one was coming, and then try and get up. Because you'd make sure that you weren't going to do anything unpredictable when someone was trying to come through.
Yeah, and I always waited. And like, as soon as I'd always look back and say, okay, there's about 3 people coming. I'd wait for the third one to pass. Then I would get up.
Exactly.
Because that way, I'm very predictable in the sense that, he's not moving, just go around it.
Exactly. And that's kind of the big thing. Like, if you crash out, the worst thing you can do is try and pop straight back up. Because anyone coming behind you goes, oh, he's crashed out, I'm going to go this way. And then you try and pop up and you slide in a direction. That's how you end up with crashing.
Yeah.
Because the second you do something unpredictable, someone's getting hurt. So I would always make sure that there was no one behind me, so I could do the movements I had to do to get back up, and then keep going.
I'd do the same. Actually, there was a point that I really wished I had my camera out as well.
Yeah. So do I.
Jordan said he was having a good run. I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. And that point up after that first slope, where that bit of a jump is there, which you don't always intentionally take. So yep. Here I go, and then he goes straight for it.
I believe when you say you don't always intentionally, you mean you, because the rest of us could steer.
I was starting to get good at steering. okay at
Kris couldn't steer for like the first 3 days, and so he would be kind of just going the direction he was going.
Oh yes.
So he had a lot of problems. So he was like, this happens. It's like, no, you just steer and avoid that happening.
Yeah. But anyway, point is, Jordan's gone over that little bit of a jump.
Yep.
And then I've just come down a little bit. Managed to actually stand up going down there, so that was pretty good for
You.
yeah, pretty good for me.
And then you can say that.
There he is, just on his ass.
So
Because he's gone over and just fallen immediately. And
at one point, I'd come down, gone onto the lip, and then just stopped. Like, you know where they had the lips coming up so you could circle round?
Yeah.
So I got myself up on top of that, and I'd stopped, and I was just dug in, and I was like filming with my camera. I think I filmed some for Snapchat. And then I put my GoPro away, my phone away, zipped up my pocket so I could continue, and then Jordan just came right down next to me and I was like, fucking...
Just put everything away.
So 10 seconds earlier, and I would have had both of them out recording when that happened.
No.
And then I went, and then I just kind of sat. I was pissing myself laughing so hard, I just sat down in the snow.
Oh, I would have been...
Because I was just like... yeah, I'd been sitting there for about like a good 2 minutes, like filming everything. And then he just crashed, and I just like started laughing so hard that I couldn't keep my balance and just fell over. But yeah, all in all, it was a great time. Would go again, will go again, and possibly Kris won't be the worst this time because Jordan's going to try and take up snowboarding.
He did say he's going to try snowboarding.
And there is a truth that snowboarding is a lot more difficult than skiing. Skiing has elements I would say are harder, like getting up because your legs aren't stuck together.
True, yeah.
So it's possible to end up doing some pretty crazy things when you try to get up if one leg starts moving and the other one starts moving in the opposite direction.
Oh, yes.
But all in all, like everything you do, skiing is a lot easier because stopping is easier.
Oh, 100%.
Because you don't have to kind of twist your body and manipulate your entire body. You can just bring your skis together. Actually moving is a lot easier because snowboarding is like surfing. Skiing is like skiing. You know?
Yeah.
With a snowboard, it's like your balance all depends on how well you're balanced. With skiing, you can actually shift your legs around and change your balance.
Yeah.
Whereas you can't in snowboarding. So I think snowboarding is a more difficult pursuit, and I think that you need to have a better grasp on balance. My only thing that I want to fix before going to the snow next time is making sure I bring my orthos with me, so that I have proper arch support, so that I don't have crippling pain halfway down the slope.
Oh no, my issue was only when we was if I stopped and stood for long enough, that's when it kills my feet.
Mine would literally be like, remember that run you guys asked me how many times I crashed and I went 2?
Yeah.
Not that you could see because I was wearing mittens.
Yes, the mittens that
but those 2 crashes came from like the pain in my arches. Like there was literally one point I'm going down and I'm braking, and then like it was just like someone had got a red hot piece of metal and stuck it on my foot.
Yep.
And I just went fuck, and I just let myself go so I could fucking get my feet unstrapped and just fucking stretch.
Yeah.
Because I was in so much pain.
You can.
Yeah, I definitely want to have that sorted before I go again. But
yeah, I think my biggest issue
that's
with the boots were like my feet would just move to the side, so like my outer toes were just pushed up against.
I think you need to tighten your boots a bit better.
I was tightening as much as I could.
Yeah, but were you standing, tightening, then sitting, tightening?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did both of them, and it was just
that's something I was doing. Like I would always tighten everything while I was standing. Then I'd sit down and use the last bit of like, because that would always loosen it up just a little bit and then tighten it again, so it was like super tight. The other thing was I wasn't 100% sure about my bindings being set right.
Well,
I don't know. Like the guy who did it knows more about it, but like they weren't at the same angle. And from what he said to me, I was thinking he was going to put them at the same angle.
Yeah.
But he didn't. So I was like, it sounds like he's given me a biased way to go down the mountain, which technically was the way I would prefer, just not on that slope.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Cause,
if it was
he said he was doing
the
it for
other
both
way, because I like to have my back uphill and my front downhill. That's just personal preference. That way I can see where I'm going.
I think what I figured out is when I start off, I prefer to be back down and then turn slightly.
No. But yeah, I prefer to have my back uphill, my front downhill. That way I can see where I'm going, and it's just more comfortable for me to do those kind of turns. Whereas I feel my board was set so my front would be uphill and my back would be downhill. And I really didn't like that, especially with a lot of little kids, because a lot of the time when I was going, like there was a time when I started and I popped up and just went, and I had to pretty much drop straight away because I'd started with my back downhill. I hadn't seen the 4 kids that were now skiing across the slope. Yeah. And so I went, oh shit, and just dropped.
Yeah. I think a couple of the times that I ended up dropping were just, I could see some ice coming and I was just getting too close to the ice, so I just had to stop before getting to it.
I know. If I saw ice coming, I was just like, okay, we're just going faster.
Yeah.
Hit the ice, don't try and stop on it, because the only time that I actually ever tried to stop on ice was like the second worst crash I had.
Yeah.
And when I say the second worst, it was like, oh no, the thing, I tried to turn a bit on the ice.
Oh yeah, no.
And the board just skipped, and I probably went 2 to 3 meters down before landing on my back, which was the second worst one. The worst one I did was I was on one of our first days up there, and it was still quite soft up there at the time, so like people were kicking up a heap of snow, and I accidentally just buried the front of my board in a snowdrift. That was super soft, so instead of going over it, I just kind of went into it, and it flipped me. I flew about 6 meters downhill before landing on my chest, and then skidding another about 7 or 8 meters downhill before coming to a stop and just being like, oh.
I was not there to see it.
It was painful. No one was there to see it. Jordan came flying down like a couple minutes later.
Oh, that was the day I wasn't even on the hill at all. Yeah.
And I was just kind of like kneeling there, and he was just like, ah. And I was like, oh fuck. And I was like kneeling there looking up at this fucking divot from where my body had just smashed into the snow. And I was like, fucking. It's like that girl the day that you were there who went face down. Because going face down snowboarding is way worse than going back down. Going back down, you're like, you pretty much sit down into it. Going face down, it's like, oh god. And this girl went face down, and like me and Jordan were sitting there watching her. I don't know if you saw her, but she went face down because I think you would have been slightly further.
I was up high.
But she just started stripping off because she thought she'd broken something. Like she was checking herself.
No, that wasn't even the day that I went up.
Yeah, it was. That was Thursday.
I thought that was the Wednesday.
No, that was Thursday.
Okay.
But yeah, she was checking herself because she thought she'd done something.
Yeah.
We were just like, no, love, you just winded.
Yeah. Oh, it was.
But yeah, no, it was
good fun.
Great holiday. Would go again. Yeah, I don't know. It was a pretty rough there and back kind of trip. You know, like it was a lot of driving. Maybe. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, if we were going again, we'd want to go in peak season. We'd want to go with some more people, which would mean we'd kind of have to change how we're planning to get there.
Yes. Probably not the 12, 13 hour stint.
Yeah.
Each day.
And we'd probably, need more cars or whatever.
And that's something we could figure out when the time comes.
Yeah,
closer to it. But no, yes, it's doing a 13-hour drive.
Yeah, it was rough.
It is definitely rough. And as much as Darcy does a lot of it and I do part of it, I still stay awake the entire time. So it is rougher on him because he's driving, but it's still rough on me because it's like I haven't slept. Whereas Jordan's in the back just sleeping most of the time.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, if I'm being honest, like, if we went again, personally, I could probably take half as much stuff. Unfortunately, because we're trying to do the YouTube channel, I also had to take a bunch of stuff for filming.
Yes.
Which took up even more space that we didn't really have. Probably if we went again, I would forgo the fridge. Like, that was really useful to get there, but not so useful on the way back.
Yeah.
Like,
and if we're going peak season anyway, it's going to be cold enough down there. It's really not going to matter.
Honestly, my thoughts would be more along the line of, if we were to go again, knowing what I know now, I would either stop in Jindabyne and do shopping. I wouldn't stop in Canberra, or I would just get there and accept the fact that we went to the shop every day.
Because we did anyway.
We did, and we also ate out way more than I was expecting to. But
we still went through the food that we got.
We did.
For the most part, yeah.
We did, but that included doing some stupidly crazy things, like eating a whole packet of pasta in one meal.
Yeah, I don't know why Jordan put it all in.
That was too much.
We legitimately could have brought that back.
That would have been like the easiest thing to bring back.
Yes, but no.
Also, like the ridiculous thing of buying frozen vegetables that we didn't use or want.
Jordan wanted them. We did use them.
He used them once.
Twice.
When were the 2 times he used them?
So he used them when we did the spag bowl.
Yep.
And then I also used them because he wanted it when I did the satay chicken.
Yeah, we could have got without them.
Oh, we 100% could have gone without them.
And they were literally the worst thing to bring back because they just started melting everywhere.
Oh yeah.
But like in all honesty, we ate out a couple nights.
So it was the first night we had.
The first night, the Wednesday night, and the Friday night.
Yes.
And the prices weren't terrible.
No, they weren't. They weren't bad.
They were pretty standard for what we were eating everywhere else. Like,
pretty much.
Like, you're not getting like your fucking cheap pub type food even in the pub.
No.
What you're paying for is the kind of yuppie food, which is kind of like, we spent a night in Canberra. We went to a pub. It was a yuppie pub. They served pints. And we were paying about the same price there that you would pay in Thredbo for stuff.
Yeah.
So,
like, whether they actually up that price in peak season, maybe.
I wouldn't think so, just because they're likely to have more people in peak season.
True.
Like, I can't see them changing the prices that much when they're expecting to have more business.
Yeah.
But that being said, we literally didn't even go to everywhere. Like, we found there was a burger place, there was a grill. Yeah. There was a few more places that we could have checked out. So if we were to go again,
we could probably check it all out.
I'd probably forego some of the food stuff.
Like the really expensive place. Well, actually, that'd be good to go at least once.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd go there once.
Probably won't buy that.
Wouldn't buy the $180 steak.
No.
But
oh, that's something.
Although, as I said to Jordan, like, because like it's $180 steak. I'm like, it's 500 grams though, man. I'm like, it's half a kilo.
It is half a kilo.
He's like, yeah, but like and I'm like, normal restaurants give you 250 grams, half of that, and it's generally about $60.
And it's a really good cut as well, so it does make sense. So if you had to actually split that up, $90.
Yeah. Like, it's an overpriced steak, but it's only about $30 overpriced from what you normally pay for an overpriced steak.
Yeah.
And
generally,
I can almost guarantee you that this was the fanciest fucking, it's our place there.
Oh,
so,
it was. 100%.
Like, this was all stuff, but yeah, as I said, like, yeah, I would like forgo, do some shopping in Jindabyne, which was like half an hour away, so you wouldn't need the fridge.
That is true.
And then,
and I said it's cool enough there that it's not really going to be an issue with some cold stuff.
Exactly. And then fucking, what was the last part? Drive, and then just be like, you know what, we're gonna eat out most nights, because you really could. Like, even if you only went to the pub, there was enough stuff there that you could have
It's something different every night.
Something different every night. And then if you didn't feel like that, you could go and grab a pizza or a kebab or a burger or, you know, there's so much stuff there that we just never... Like, there was a Mexican place we never even went to.
That is true.
So...
However, the days they're open stopped us as well.
No, they were open every night.
They were?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Some of the places are only open, what?
So...
What was it? Thursday to Sunday?
Yeah, that was like the shops and stuff.
Oh.
In peak season, they would be open more often. It's just
fair.
in the shoulder, there's no point. In the shoulder, the people who run it go like, I'm not opening today, I'm going to go out skiing.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So, you know, there's like 30 people here in town. Yeah, I'm not going. I'm not bothering opening the store.
Oh, there's more than 30 people here, but most of them are students.
Yeah.
No.
So, like, yeah, that was the thing. So, in the end, we decided we would go again. We'd want to try and aim for peak season. Get girlfriends. We talked about this last week.
We did.
And yeah, the only thing that I would forgo is probably do a lot less shopping because in the end, we went to the shop every day.
Which we could have done there.
And it really wasn't that much more
prices
expensive.
were a lot better than we thought.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, if you were to do the shop that we did there, it would have been a lot more expensive, probably closer to like $250, $300 instead of $200, but
It's still not horrible.
we ended up buying a lot of stuff that we didn't really need.
We did. Extra.
And a lot of it came back. There were a few things that I was like, glad we picked those up. Like, I'm glad that I had the foresight to grab the beef noodles. Because we used those a lot.
We did.
Because they were just an extra thing to chuck with lunch. Toasted sandwiches and beef noodles. Lunch done.
Yeah. It was simple. It was good.
But yeah, like, yeah, honestly, it probably wouldn't bother me at all to cook less for dinner. Because, you know, you kind of come in after a day of skiing, you're tired, you know, go out, grab something to eat, come back, sit down, don't have to worry about washing up, go sit in the hot tub. You know, day well done. But yeah, so that's kind of the wrap up of our holiday. It was 2 really long days with some really fun stuff in between.
Yeah.
And Kris can't navigate for shit.
It wasn't horrible, eh?
He was horrible at it. He was very bad at it. We literally had to give Jordan the job of making sure that he was giving directions. Giving directions to the person giving directions to the driver. Yeah.
It wasn't that a constant thing. Definitely on that the big trip on the weekend there. That kept jumping around.
Yeah, there was
That
some
wasn't even
mistakes made, and like there was 1 or 2 times when I was questioning choices you were telling me, but I was like, oh, he's looking at the thing. I'm just kind of looking at the map. I'm like, what I'll do is I'll do what he says, and then once we were kind of there, I was like, oh, if I can just, I made a mistake listening.
See, one of the options was I thought it was going to be the same way that we actually went down there. But what it actually did is when we were heading down there, it gave me 3 paths that you could go. But on the way back, it only gave me 2.
Yeah.
Which
As I
I
said,
didn't realise.
there was a few times when I was sitting there and I was just going like, but that's the highway. And then I was like, oh, I trust Chris's directions. And the 2 of those times, I was like, I shouldn't have trusted Chris's directions.
Yeah. One of them.
The worst one, though, was the one where we were on the forest road.
That one's when it kept bouncing around.
Yeah.
Because it's like we're getting back to the highway because, and I'm like, and I was saying it before we went down that way, and I clicked on it to say, yep, we're going that way. Then it said we've got a faster track, and then I changed it back to it, but then it flicked it off again. It just kept flicking off to go that way. It was annoying.
So yeah, I feel that's what made that day particularly long. Because that day was actually longer than the same trip coming down.
It was, yes.
And like I think my reasoning there is that it took us off the highway too many times. And like,
it was constantly wanting to take us off the highway. The way down, it wanted to keep us on the highway for the most part. but on the way up.
Oh, well, as I said to you, at the end of the day, always stay on the fucking highways, because the highways are the best. They're the best maintained roads, and they've got the fastest speed limits. So even if it's like, oh, but this road's 10 kilometers shorter, it's like, yes, but that's, as we found out with Banjo-Patterson Way, that's 10 kilometers of some pretty unmaintained roads that you cannot do 100 kilometers an hour on.
No.
There were points where I was like, okay, 100 kilometers an hour, yeah, that's not too bad. Then there were points where I'm like, yeah, we're not going faster than 80 because this road has no edge.
Yeah.
This road is 1 lane wide. There were some points there where it just kind of fucked us, and it's like, at the end of the day, we would have been better off to travel the little bit extra distance on the highway and had a constant speed of 110-ish kilometers an hour. But yeah, no, good holiday, would do again, will do again. We're going back down there at some point, and we will also probably be going other places, because I kind of like having snow trips.
They are fun.
Yeah. Make it a big thing.
Yeah, might as well.
Absolutely. Especially if this kicks off. Do it all the time.
Yeah, go somewhere different every time. So we can get.
Doesn't even have to be go somewhere different. Just has to be have the money to go places.
Well, it'd be nice. It would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of wraps up our trip wrap up. And yeah, so stay tuned for those videos when I get around to doing them. A lot of compiling to do before I can even start looking at them.
Yes.
So let's jump on to the next and last part of today's podcast.
Yes.
A year of the channel.
Yes.
Pretty big deal for us. A year of mostly 3 videos a week.
Yeah, there's been a couple times with more, but
It's been a couple times with more. There's been a couple times with less.
they were accidental ones for the most part.
There was definitely that one time I just forgot to upload.
Yes.
But I fixed that. We've spent a year learning, refining our art. At least we believe so. Making changes. If you saw the first podcast, seeing the podcast now, you wouldn't recognize it.
True.
Hopefully it sounds better. Hopefully it looks better. Hopefully everything is better. And it's the same with a lot of our other stuff. Solo recordings. That's something that's relatively new, but
getting into it.
Yeah. It's actually not that new, because I think the very first videos on the channel were solo, but at the same time, they were pretty rubbish solo.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I don't know, that's just, it's been a year, we've had a lot of learning, we've changed a lot of things, we've adapted a lot of things, we've come up with more efficient ways of doing stuff, so it's been a year of growth. The channel has grown, we're up to 25 subscribers, we're feeling pretty good, I know a year and 25 subscribers might not sound like a lot, but it's how these things go,
Yeah.
You tend to start off with a lot slower growth, and then as things snowball, they snowball. So, we're going to keep doing what we do, keep trying to do the best we can, keep growing, keep changing. You'll see a lot of changing. We've finally set Kris up so that he can start filming some of his own stuff, so he's going to start testing that. We're going to start looking at doing things where we can play games that we haven't been able to play previously, because we only had one filming setup. Now we have 2, so we can play other things. Like, one thing I really want to try is some Grand Theft Auto Online.
Yes.
That kind of stuff. More solo stuff from me. It's definitely on the books. I want to do a couple playthroughs of games from my childhood. So, I'm thinking Spyro Reignited Trilogy. That was what got me into gaming, Spyro. So.
Spyro, yeah. I think it was the same one for me as well. I played a lot of that when I was younger.
So Spyro got me back into gaming back when I was a wee lad. Halo, obviously. Gears of War, obviously. The formative games. Probably... we've been planning for ages to do a Dark Souls, Soul was Born, Sekiro, pretty much all of those games kind of playthrough, where Kris pretty much becomes my guide and tries and gets me through those games.
Yeah.
and he's negative, but I'm like, maybe I'm just that talented.
Well, as I've
You
always
saw me
said.
throw that ball 95 kilometers on my first throw.
Wasn't your first throw? Was it? Oh, that's right, because you got up
I
to
did 2
96.
throws. Oh no, 95 was my best. I did 2 throws. First one was 95, the second one was 94.
No, you did a 91 as well.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I only did 2 throws.
Chris, when you did 3.
I
This
only
one, the
did 2.
first one was 91.
No, I only did 2. I did 95 and 94.
My second one was 82.
I know. But I only threw it twice.
Yeah.
And because there was a family behind me, and I was like doing, like I reckon I could have got over 100, but I was doing the baseball thing, and I wanted to back up a bit, and then there was like a family right there being like, "Come on,
No, we want to go.
we want to go," and the kid's like, "We want to go," and it's like, "Oh, just wait," and I was like, "I'm not going to throw it again," so I just kind of pushed it into the net and went.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Um,
So I did see that. But yes.
But yeah, so we got some stuff. We got some stuff we want to do. Obviously, we've got where we are now is obviously because we've been on holidays for 10 or so days.
Yes. Yeah.
We have filming to do to catch up to restock the footage mines or whatever you want to call them. So that I can edit out and bring some stuff out.
We'll be doing that over probably the next couple of days.
Yeah, next couple of days. As I said, we got enough to carry us through a week or so. And then I'll be doing some extra filming. I'm looking at starting the Spyro playthroughs over the next couple of days.
Yep.
I'll
be looking at my list and seeing what I want to do, and then I'll probably play around with something else first so I can get the hang of it and figure out what I'm doing, make sure it's all running properly, and then I'll get into actually doing one too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got the biggest challenge coming up, which is obviously Halloween week. We're looking at doing exactly what we did last year, which is a solid week of a video every day. So we are planning that out so that the stuff that we can film early and be ready to go, because that is the one thing I'm adamant about. I'm not leaving all the editing to that week, because that was rough. And
especially when
it also
coincides. And had to
coincides.
come back the next day and do it again.
It also coincides with the busiest time of year for me work-wise, because all of my year 12s are doing their externals, and they all want more time with me.
Yeah.
So I don't even have like my normal. Yeah, I can work on it here to here. It's like I might get a call in and be like, "Hey, can you do extra time with this student?" So we want to be on top of it this year. So we're looking at doing that. But if you do have any suggestions, chuck them in the comments of this podcast, and we will have a look at it before, because obviously we've got about 2 weeks, and in the next 2 weeks we'll probably start doing all that filming.
For sure.
But yeah, a lot of planning going out on kind of both sides of that. What we want to do, where we want to move forward to. Me personally, I want to come up with. I haven't yet decided how, but I want to play some board games on the channel as well.
Be good.
Which would mean kind of figuring out a 2-camera system.
Yep.
Not the world's most difficult thing. We have the 2 cameras ready to go. It's just about using the space wisely and figuring out a way that we can get the maximum stuff, because I love board games. I have so many. I would love to play them on the channel. So, and that would give us more content.
Yes.
Keep things fresh. Otherwise, like we have plans for the future, as we always do. We're hoping for another big year hopefully over the coming 12 months. This first 12 months was very setting us up, getting us ready, making us more comfortable with what we're doing. Over the next 12 months, we're hoping to refine it even more, break into some new things, bring
getting
more
with
content.
new things as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me with doing the solo. So you've never done a solo video before?
Well,
Ever?
I'm less worried about Kris doing solos, but I'm excited for being able to do multi-screen stuff, more multi-screen stuff like you see in Raft.
Yes.
Because so far Raft is the only... Raft and Phasmo are the only series where we can do that because of limitations, but now that we're past those limitations, we actually have the opportunity to do more, which means that we can bring more. So a bit of growth coming up that we're pretty happy with it. We want to keep pushing, seeing where we go. We really, honestly, every time I get on there, I see more comments from people who are like, "Oh, you guys just popped up in my recommended. I really liked it," and that's awesome. We absolutely love that because that's
means we're doing well. We're doing something right.
It means that at least we are hitting what we want to be, much like Jordan on the ski slopes wanting to become a novice skier. Yes. We are becoming entertaining background noise.
Yes.
And what more can you actually want? So we got, hopefully we're looking forward to another big 12 months and continuing to push forwards and hopefully fingers crossed we'll keep growing and hopefully we can if things keep going we can keep putting out even more and more and better content and more refined content.
Hopefully to a point where we can do more in a week, but that'll probably start happening when I can start pushing some stuff out as well.
Even then, I think
initially leave it at 3.
My plans are not to increase the amount of stuff coming out until we're at a point where we can actually feasibly do that. Which means that, if all things go well, hopefully one day we'll be able to get the 5-day release. Possibly even up to a 7-day release if things go well. But at the moment, even with Kris starting to do stuff on his own, 3 days a week is all I'm aiming at because to do any more whilst working other jobs and having all these other responsibilities, it's a bit much. If we could possibly make this a actual paying career, then possibly then we open ourselves up to being able to do more stuff because True. It means things like I can do less time at where I'm currently working because I'm being substituted by this, which means that I can therefore just be like, no, I can't work this day, and then put days aside to only work on the channel. Whereas at the moment I don't have that. I'm working 6 days a week, and some of those days are, well, they're not long, but they can be very draining. Especially working with children. That's probably the killer.
I get that.
I tend to kind of have to put up with whatever mood they bring with them. And being children, they bring some pretty dodgy moods over things that really don't matter. Like, I was told no today, so I'm going to be in a right mood. And you're just like, I don't give a fuck about your mood, do your maths.
Yeah. That's as simple as it is.
But guys, that's kind of the future, our plans for the next 12 months. How we feel we've gone over the last 12 months. There's still a lot to come. We really, we've got to finish The Room. We've got to play more Bunny Man. We might venture back into Cuphead.
Yeah, that is a fun game. That really is.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the other one. Oh, you've got Cloudberry. We've got all of these things that we've started that we've just got to bring together. That are still going. So we haven't really wrapped up anything over the last 12 months. But yeah, we have learned. We've seen what people like. We've seen what doesn't go so well. But there's some things that don't go so well just because, I don't think Cloudberry's ever really done well. View-wise, it's not our biggest viewer. However, we're not going to drop anything at the moment. We do, as we've always said, we want to start Minecraft. There was always a hold up on one, we haven't decided what we want to do in Minecraft yet.
Yeah.
Two, that's one where we'd have to film on both things, and we've never really tested it.
It is true, yes.
We don't think there should be any issues, but,
so.
You can never be too careful. Tests do have to be run first.
Yeah.
But, we aren't really dropping. I know a lot of YouTubers tend to drop things if they don't hit, if their first thing doesn't have big views.
Yeah.
But honestly,
we're at a point where that's not
a
good
thing for us. And
at the moment.
if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't think I'll ever really do that. If there's something that we want to do, we'll do it. And
I guess it's only if we use something that we're sort of testing to see if it's going to do well, then we may drop those. But,
but a lot of things we do,
agree.
we test it out, or we kind of film quite a few of them ahead of time, and then start dropping them. And at the end of the day, with the output that we have, we don't actually really waste any time by doing things that we want to do, as opposed to things that, if we're being perfectly honest, if we were only doing things that got high views, we would only ever play Mario Kart.
True.
Mario Kart and Bunnyman are our best by far.
Yes.
I think that's just generally because those two lead to enraging situations, but and that's the reason I say that, and I say that's the reason that I'm not willing to just be like, oh, we'll cut Cloudberry and we'll stop doing it, even though Cloudberry has probably the most setup time out of any games that we do.
Always, yeah.
But I refuse to drop it because I feel that it's probably not as well watched because people don't know it as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, it was the first time I'd heard of it when we played it the first time. So.
But in reality, it is pretty much like it's Bunnyman.
Except we're, at the moment, slightly better at it.
Yeah, but that's because at the moment...
it's not hard.
This has
really
what we
hard
call a difficulty curve, whereas Bunnyman just has a difficulty cliff.
Oh, true, yes.
So, we are... If you actually go back and look at the Cloudberry playthroughs, and, I would suggest you do, you can actually see that in each progressive episode, we are getting less and less done because we are spending more and more time doing the same things because we either suck or
we're learning
I'm just terrified of checkpoints.
You're terrified of checkpoints. We're learning new features like that, the growing and shrinking one. That was horrid, but it was fun. Don't get me wrong, but
I don't.
Geez.
Yeah, personally speaking, I feel like I don't know how other YouTubers do it. I only know from channels like Achievement Hunter that they'd always talk about. Oh yeah, this video only got 120,000 views and blah blah this and blah blah that, so we can't feasibly do it. And it's I've always kind of been I understand that when you get to a level that you don't have to do this, we need this many people, or we need this group of people. And when you've got so many different things happening that you've so you need to set out. But at the same time, I'm if it's something that you want to do, even if it's not got the highest viewership, you can still do it if you are wise with it.
True.
And that's kind of what we're going to do, and that's what we will continue to do. We're not going to give up on something just because it's not got the highest viewers in the world. But at the same time, we're always going to be chasing better ways to do things, or if we feel that we've kind of run a game to, even if we haven't finished it, or even if there's still more to go, if we feel like we're not getting as much out of that game, then we might put it on the back burner like we have with Please Don't Touch Anything. It's not that we're not going to finish that game, it's just that we're at a point where we've slowed down a heap in it.
Yeah.
And so I have to kind of play in my mind how we're going to do this going forwards, because like the standard way that we do it, where we just jump on, record play for half an hour, record it, whatever, and then some minor editing, send it out, isn't going to work as well for it anymore, because each new step is taking longer and longer. So in half an hour you might get
dead time where we're doing nothing because we're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, or we're doing the same thing over and over and over again because we've realised that we accidentally got an ending that we've already got. Yeah. So we're kind of, that's on the back burner. We haven't abandoned it, but that's kind of the only thing that's really going to stop us from putting out what we would like to put out, is how well the process for it is. And for some games, you know, it's just like to keep talking about the puzzle games. The Room, we're 3. We're definitely going to finish that off. We just pretty much over the last couple of weeks we haven't had the best filming kind of stuff, because we were like, got to punch out all of this stuff for the time we were going away. Yeah. Which meant that we didn't really have time to sit down and do something like that, where, because generally filming for The Room can take upwards of an hour. Yeah. And we generally get like one episode out of that, whereas for that same time we can generally spin 2 or 3 episodes of different things. Yeah. So with the snow trip coming up, we knew that we had to maximize our time, so we kind of put that aside for now. We're definitely going to finish that, but yeah, that one's going to be, you know, the same as it always is. Not too much editing, because we want you to see us struggle. That's kind of the whole point of it. Yeah. But yeah, with Please Don't Touch Anything 3D.
It's a lot of struggle.
That one I could literally see us filming for 2 hours and only getting a half-hour video because of all the repetition and all the kind of same old. So it's on the back burner just because of the time constraints at the moment. We do intend to finish it. We do want to finish it, but we know that one's going to be rough. Oh yes. Other things like the raft, we will definitely be seeing more of that. We want to also do some Satisfactory. There are other games in that kind of vein that we want to do. Survival builder games. As we said, we want to start Minecraft. But all of this just kind of comes down to, well, with the raft really. The only reason there hasn't been any new raft videos is because I haven't put it as a high priority, because it's a long edit. True. And again, just with the trip coming up, I really didn't have time to sit there and do a super long edit. Because it just wouldn't work for us. With the, like, we were trying to maximize time. So, but yeah, probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks there'll be another raft video, because we really enjoy playing the game. Yeah. You know, and Kris is hopeless in it, so it works. It does. Yeah, so, you know, that's kind of the whole thing. It's just like, the whole point I'm bringing up there is that, you know, just because something doesn't have the best viewership doesn't mean we're going to drop it. Kind of depends on how we feel about it. If we feel it's, you know, worth the time that we're putting into it, we'll keep doing it, because honestly a lot of this stuff doesn't take a lot of time. True. And with Kris starting to film his own stuff means I can start teaching him how to edit that stuff. Yes. Which means that with 2 people editing, we'll actually have more videos, which means that a lot of the pressure can come off me. Yes. Because so far everything I edit. But if there's 2 of us who can edit stuff, then like I can chuck stuff to Kris and be like, you edit this, and then I can focus on, you know, in the same amount of time, like in a week period, I technically edit twice as much stuff. Yes. And like we could, you know, I could give Kris like Mario Karts to edit and then focus on doing long form editing, so that we've got something like a raft or whatever. So, you know, as we've kind of grown and got more there's still more growth to do, obviously, and more refining to do. We always want to get better, but we're at a stage now where Kris is finally ready to start doing some more stuff for the channel wise, which means that hopefully we can actually start seeing more stuff on the channel.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that just about sums it up.
I think it does.
So yeah, think we'll just round this out by kind of looking back at the year and saying, Kris, what was your favourite thing that we did channel wise all year?
Ooh. Favorite thing, honestly, probably the raft and maybe the room, because I do really like that style of game. So they've done pretty well. I do enjoy the occasional Mario Kart. Just becomes stupid fun, really.
Yeah, I do enjoy the Mario Karts, mainly because I know that for the amount of work they're generally going to pay off the best. And it's hard to go wrong with them. But probably my favourite part of the year to date was the Bunny Man, where we literally could not get off that one level.
Oh,
and
that was rough. And then we just went insane.
Every time we thought, every time we got over one block, it would be like, yes, we've finally beaten this part, and then you would die on the next part, and then that block would be back there, and you just could not get past it. But definitely in those, I think it was 3 videos. I think there were 3 videos where we were in this one level and could not get past it. And yeah, one of them, we are literally at the end, and I tell Kris, I just need to put this thing in this hole and everything will be fine, safety. And Kris goes, no, you don't need it, and then died instantly to that hole. Mere feet away from me making it safe.
Yep.
And I'm fairly sure that was in the 2nd episode.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So
even the insanity that it
and then it took us another 40 odd minutes to get back to a point where we were there. So that's some of the stuff I love. The other thing I liked doing was the promo video on the channel. Just going back through and cherry picking some of my favorite parts was pretty spot on.
There was some solid points in there. They were good.
Absolutely.
I did very much enjoy that video as well. Yes. But even the insanity that it ensued after doing those Bunny Man videos, because we generally did stuff after it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, that's the next videos. I think they were just funny for me, just purely because you could see how we still hadn't recovered.
Yeah.
From doing that Bunny Man.
Yeah. But yeah, yeah, guys, so we made it. We made it to a year. So, if you like the channel, please keep supporting it. Year 2, the Patreon saga.
Yes.
We intend to get that up and running at some point this year.
Yes. Add some stuff there.
Yeah.
Stuff we can't put on YouTube. That's the main.
We do have some things that can only go on Patreon that we want to do. Because YouTube just wouldn't let us do it because of copyright issues, and Patreon's a little bit less hardcore with that, especially considering that a lot of these things, aren't really copyright. It's just that it uses copyrightable material. So
true. Yes.
Kind of sucks, but kind of okay. But yeah, guys. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm out of beverage, so I think that's about time we wrap it up for the day. And the year.
Yeah.
Wrapping it up for the year. The first year of the channel. If you have been with us from the beginning, thank you so much. We hope that we can continue to entertain you. If you are new, thank you for joining us. If this is the first time seeing us, please consider joining. We really do appreciate it.
It'd be very good.
Yeah, but as always, guys, if you like the video, consider liking, showing a mate, leaving a comment, or if you can find it within your heart to subscribe. We really do appreciate it. And yeah, here's to another year, and hopefully we can continue to grow and continue to
put out more videos.
Yeah. Keep you guys entertained, even if it is just background noise.
Oh yeah.
Well, guys, until next time, I've been Darcy, he's been Kris, and we will see you later.
See ya.
Bye, guys. 1 year, Kris.
Oh yeah. I fucking knew it.
Backhand!
I knew it was coming.
Oh, putting it on silent for once, eh?
Do it almost every time.
Or... Shall we get started, son?
We shall.
Awesome.